Okay, hello, my name is Christine Salama. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the YHA coordinator and head community educator at PFY. And I'm just kind of going to run you through what our deal is and what we do. So before I talk to you about PFY, I should point out our phone number, our office phone number, and our Instagram handle, and also our handle across all social media. Pride for Youth is going to be up in the in like the footer of the slideshow for this whole thing, but that's kind of the easiest way to get in touch with us for any of the services that are mentioned. But before I tell you anything else about our services, I have to kind of give you the history of what our deal is. So Long Island Crisis Center, or LICC, is actually our parent organization. They are a 24/7, 365 crisis intervention hotline. All that really means is anytime anyone has any kind of issue, whether it's a big problem, small problem, or even wants to know how to ask for help for a friend, that's a phone number that's available to them. The phone number is 516-679-1111. It is a free and completely confidential service. The most information that I believe they ask for is a first name, just so they have something to call people since they're kind of having a conversation, but it's something that they kind of just want to be able to connect and speak with someone, not necessarily a requirement. Their website is also longislandcrisiscenter.org, and that's another way to get in touch with them. They have a chat feature on there that's available, I believe, during certain hours of the day. So it's a really great resource. I know that they've been around since, I believe, the 1970s, and this is kind of where PFY's story begins, is closer to the 1990s. And in the 90s, what happened was there were a lot of calls coming in to LACC's hotline from LGBTQ plus identified young folks who sort of needed a space to hang out and exist and mingle. And that wasn't really a space that was available necessarily for young folks at the time. A lot of the LGBTQ spaces in New York at that point were kind of bars and clubs and like adult atmospheres made by adults for adults to enjoy, not necessarily super safe for young people. So in response to that kind of call from the community, PFY, or rather LICC at the time, started the Coffee House program. And that program runs every Friday to this day. It is a hangout space for LGBTQ plus youth and their allies between the ages of 13 and 20. It runs every Friday, and it basically just serves to give LGBTQ plus youth and their friends and their allies a safe, substance-free, affirming environment with drop-in counseling available, and basically just aims to give people the resources that they didn't have back in the day. And since then, a lot more programs have evolved. I'll kind of talk through some of the services that we have, but that's sort of the birth of PFY, kind of. We currently serve LGBTQ plus identified folks up to the age of 45, and we have locations in Nassau, Suffolk, and Queens, I believe. So that's how we started. And I do want to mention, again, our social media. It's the easiest way to plug us in general. It's the easiest way to get in touch and ask about the services that we have. We're just at Pride for Youth on Instagram, prideforyouth.pfy Facebook, and Pride for Youth on TikTok. We're doing it all. So that's kind of how to reach us. If anyone had any questions, that would be the way to reach out. It's also the easiest way to find out updates about our programs and events that are coming up. So that's how to find us, really. In terms of the programs and the services that we offer, I skipped one. Coffee House, I've already talked about. It's for all LGBTQ plus identified individuals and their straight allies between the ages of 13 and 20. And it's a supportive, safe, friendly, and substance-free space for youth to socialize, have fun, and get support from, that's not what that says, it's peers. It's supposed to be peers and adults. And it currently runs in person between 7 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. And the facilitator would be NISA. The way to find out more about that would be, again, to check the social media. It's going to be the answer for all of these. But NISA is the current facilitator of Coffee House. Apart from Coffee House, though, we do have Transaction, which is a group for transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary individuals ages 15 to 30. And it's basically a support group for trans and non-binary folks who are questioning their gender identity. It currently runs from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. in person at our Belmore location. And in terms of virtually, we did all of these services virtually, obviously, at some point, but now we currently only do, I believe, the fourth Tuesday of the month would be virtual meeting from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the current facilitator of transaction would be Maria. And that is kind of what she wrote for transaction. In terms of other groups, we have Empower Vida, which is a group, Spanish-speaking group for Latinx or Latina, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender folks between the ages of 17 and 45. And it's basically just a support group that addresses sexual health, emotional health, and the social support needs of the community. It runs Thursdays from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. in person. Current facilitator is Lester, actually. It says Lester and Dervis, but I believe Dervis is going to be, Lester is currently taking over for Dervis, and it is delightful. They're doing a great job. So that's Empower Vida. It's a group that runs in Spanish. So that's sort of that deal. There's also Empower Her, which is a group for trans women and trans feminine people between the ages of 18 and 45. And it's a support group that addresses sexual health, emotional health, and the social support needs of the community. It's mostly, these groups are kind of just like places to hang out and meet people. And we also sneak in some sexual health and emotional health in there, but it's mostly like social grouping, really. Empower Her is run by Iridian on Wednesdays between 4:30 and 8:30 p.m. in person. There is a virtual hour that people can join virtually. I believe from 7 or to 8, there's kind of like an hour, half hour where there's like a discussion and a get together and folks can join virtually. There'll be more information about that on the Empower Her Instagram, which would be linked to from Pride for Youth's Instagram. Okay. There's also Empower Plus, which is for gay, bisexual, or trans identified folks living with HIV or allies between the ages of 17 and 30. In this case, allies are defined as individuals who can see past HIV status and are open to friendships and relationships with individuals living with HIV. It is a social and supportive space for folks to engage in activities and group discussions. It's also like a social support space that it runs, I believe, once a month in Spanish. That is going to be led by Dervis, and it is Tuesdays from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. virtually on Zoom. Lauren runs it the rest of the month, I believe, and those groups are in English the first, third, and fourth Tuesdays of the month, I believe. All right, so that's kind of Empower Plus. Queer Connect is a group for all LGBTQ plus individuals between the ages of 17 and 30. And it's just a social space, really, for folks to engage in activities, discussions, and games, and they get to hang out and create like a space and meet other LGBTQ plus folks in their age range. This is a group that's kind of like a transition group from people who are maybe aging out of coffee house to have the chance to still keep up with their community. It is the last Monday of every month from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m., currently in person. And the current facilitator is Nisa once again. That's sort of like once a month, but it's a blast. Everyone kind of gets together and has, there's a theme every month. It's really sweet. But that's Queer Connect. Well, I think this is the last one. This one's going to be Empowerment Long Island. Empowerment is a group for gay, bi, and queer men, as well as trans folks between the ages of 17 and 30. And it's basically just a social educational group for individuals to meet other people and learn safe sexual health practices. Wednesdays, sorry, I'm wrong about this. Wednesdays are virtual from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. They are on Zoom currently, and Thursdays are in person, 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. And the current facilitator for Empowerment is Zach, and their Empowerment also has its own Instagram, which would be Empowerment Long Island, exactly as it's written. That's the easiest way to get in touch about what our services are there. And it's just a cool hangout space there. And again, most of these things are pretty much just places for you and your friends to hang out. with the exception of like, we try to sneak in some health stuff in there, but it's mostly kind of just people hanging out and having a blast. It's part of the health experience is making sure people are supported. So we also have groups, not just for young people, but also Pride for Parents. Pride for Parents is a group that is for parents and family of LGBTQ plus youth. And it's basically just like a support group for adult family members of LGBTQ young people that serves to kind of provide education on the identities that exist, have a dialogue on how to support our loved ones, and to meet other family members and share the experiences that folks may be having with raising children or young people who are LGBTQ plus and how that can be challenging and rewarding. And it's a great space to kind of be vulnerable and honest about the discussions that are maybe happening. And that would happen the second and fourth Thursday of each month, I believe, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. It is currently still virtual on Zoom, and the facilitator is Maria. So that is Pride for Parents. And Lush is a service that we have also, which is kind of runs during Coffee House. It's for female identified and folks who are assigned female at birth between the ages of 13 and 20. It's basically just like a sexual health group to discuss sexual health topics with staff and peers. And it is the first and third Friday of the month during Coffee House at around 7:30 p.m. in person. It's currently facilitated by our master's level interns who are overseen by Aiden, who is the LGBTQ services manager. So that's Lush. There's also HIV testing. We offer free HIV and rapid syphilis testing as well to all individuals up to the age of 45. What that would be is just free confidential HIV testing, and it is often scheduled virtually. It's also possible to get a walk-in appointment or to, in particular for our Suffolk site, you would want to call to set up an appointment. But for Nassau County, it would mostly be you could walk in or send a message to our Instagram account and mention that you want testing, and someone would link you to testing that way. The current testers that we have are Dervis, Lauren, Lester, Sergio, Zach, and Iridian. There are quite a few of them, and they're all delightful. So that's kind of that. We also offer a certain amount, I believe, of transportation to a certain extent, and we offer reimbursement for folks who use public transportation to attend our programming. And as long as you keep the receipt and bring it to the facilitator, they should get you a reimbursement. So there's also, no, this is nothing. There's also PrEP and PEP referrals. I'm sure that is something, but not right now. So PrEP and PEP referrals are going to be for all LGBTQ plus identified individuals through the age of 30 who are at risk for contracting HIV, which is most of us really, if not through, like basically you would do a screening, find out if this is the thing that you would be eligible for. Those screenings are free. You could do it in person or over the phone, again, Monday through Friday. And the current facilitator for the PrEP referrals I believe is still Lester. A lot of these names show up more than once, and it's just because everybody here wears multiple hats and has a blast. So that's PrEP and PEP referrals. If anyone ever needed access to PEP, PFY would help get someone assistance with that. Believe all of us are able to help people gain access to PEP. So if that was a concern, you would just call the office and we would do our best to connect you right away. So these are also our workshops and presentations that we have. This is mostly for any school, organization, or agency that would request workshops on these topics. The topics are mostly, we've got community ed, we've also got peer navigator sexual health. So community education would involve the workshops understanding sexual orientation, understanding gender and allyship in action. And peer navigator sexual health are the workshops that peer navigators provide, who are part-time employees of the agency, who do an incredible job at these workshops about HIV and AIDS, STIs, and PrEP and PEP, as well as being an ally and what that can look like. That happens pretty much upon request all year round. And in order to get in touch with someone who would provide those things, it would be me, Christine. I am the one who does the community education workshops, and I am also the person who supervises the peer navigators. So I would also help to get you set up with any workshops that one might need, for example, for like their GSA or something. So that would be, I would be the contact person for that. And other than that, I think the primary programs we have are mostly individual services again. So we offer individual counseling for LGBTQ plus individuals up to the age of 30. What that would be is like free and confidential counseling by licensed counselors and interns to facilitate the exploration of gender identity, sexual orientation, how to come out, sexual health needs, and any other areas of concern related to the experiences of LGBTQ youth and in the world, really, kind of just being a supportive and comforting presence while also answering any questions that folks may have. And the person who is currently in charge of the counseling program would also be Aiden. And that would be most of the counseling program. There's also Project Thrive, which is for transgender and non-binary folks, as well as LGBTQ plus immigrants up to the age of 30. And this is essentially free and confidential linkage to resources for legal requirements. So when it comes to legal services for folks who have immigrated, or when it comes to letter writing or resources required for medical and legal transition for trans and non-binary folks, including like letter writing, writing letters of support for folks who may need assistance getting a hold of gender affirming surgery, potentially hormones or gender marker changes or name changes. That would also be aided to get in touch with or to just call the office about. So that, I believe, is Project Thrive. I am going to give a brief overview of what our Understanding Sexual Orientation workshop, just a sneak peek. So sexual orientation, I think, is a little bit of a misnomer. I think that it's called sexual orientation, and that's fine. But I also find that sexual orientation, the way we talk about it, is about attraction, and attraction is more than just sexual. We can experience attraction in ways that aren't sexual, like romantic attraction, as well as spiritual attraction, or emotional or mental attraction even. And all of these forms of attraction are unique to one another. Some people may experience none of these forms of attraction. Some people may experience some, but not others. And some people may experience all of them. And it's kind of an individual experience, but sexual and romantic attraction, I feel we are very familiar with in society. We understand what physical attraction is. We understand what romantic attraction is. Mental attraction and emotional and spiritual attraction are a little bit harder to parse. The way that I like to explain mental attraction is like, if you think someone's really funny, or maybe you really like the way that they think about things, you really like hearing their thoughts on things, and you just think that you're just very attracted to the way that they think in their mind, you could be really attracted to someone based off of that. You can also feel really emotionally attracted to someone, like maybe you could be really emotionally close with someone, feel like you can be vulnerable and safe with them, and that can let you feel a little bit closer and attracted to them that way. As well as spiritual attraction. Spiritual attraction, I find, can confuse people sometimes, but the ways that I've heard it explained are sometimes folks are attracted to someone that they felt like they maybe knew in a past life. Some people may also feel like, I think the easiest way to describe spiritual attraction is if you've ever had that experience of meeting someone for the first time, and you know it's the first time you've met, and you know you've never met them before, but you, for whatever reason, feel like you've known them your whole life, just like an instant familiarity and connection to this person that you know you don't know, but it sure feels like there's something there. So that can lead someone, or that can be a form of attraction, or lead someone to feel attracted to someone. As well as I said, romantic and sexual attraction, we're pretty familiar with, don't necessarily require too much explanation, but these are kind of the different ways that people can feel attracted to folks. And it's important to point out that attraction isn't only sexual. The first experience that those of us who experience attraction may have is kind of like a first crush situation, and that's not necessarily super sexual. It's mostly just sweet and romantic, and not even just like emotional more than anything. It's not always a sexual thing can sometimes just be innocent and lighthearted and feel like we've got butterflies in our stomach and we don't know how to talk and we're really excited that this person is around, but we're also really nervous because what if they don't like us? And it can lead to a lot of really strong feelings. And it's kind of the easiest way to describe attraction, really, is just kind of sometimes overwhelming, but not necessarily unpleasant. That's kind of what sexual orientation is about. I do want to give a brief preface, which is that like LGBTQ plus in that acronym, we've got lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and more. Sexual orientation is kind of the thing that we talk about when it comes to lesbian, gay, bisexual folks, and maybe queer or questioning. But T, which stands for transgender, is not about sexual orientation. It's not really about attraction. It's less about how we feel about other people and more about how we feel about ourselves. So the easiest way to kind of give you a brief overview of what gender looks like, or at least the briefest peek into understanding gender, is essentially this right here. Gender is made up of 4 different parts. It's not really about our sex assigned at birth. Our sex assigned at birth is kind of a separate thing. So our sex assigned at birth is about biology. It's about chromosome pairs. It's what some people call biological sex, but is more often being referred to as sex assigned at birth. And that is something that is, as I said, biological. Gender isn't really biological, though. It's more social. It's about how we understand ourselves and how we see ourselves. So gender, apart from sex assigned at birth, obviously, but it's made up of kind of 4 different parts. We talk about it in terms of gender identity, expression, norms, and gender as a social construct. So a gender identity is just sort of our innermost concept of gender, our innermost concept of self as it pertains to gender. So how we see ourselves. And gender expression is kind of how we show ourselves to the outside world, or how we may appear to the people around us. And that could be through hairstyle, clothes, mannerisms, maybe the behaviors that we have, whether or not we grow facial hair or body hair. It could be the name or the pronouns that we use, things like that, the ways in which we can kind of show ourselves to others. There's also gender roles, or gender norms, which are kind of the expectations that folks may have of our behavior based on our sex assigned at birth, or the gender identity that people may perceive us to have. And there's also gender as a social construct, as basically a thing that is not concrete, not objective, but a thing that is a lot of it is about our belief in it and the way that we understand it and what it has looked like throughout the ages. So that's kind of a brief peek into gender. And I know that there are probably, hopefully, at least if the questions, and if there are, you could feel free to call at literally any time. Someone will likely get back to you, or even just send a message to our Instagram account, or even if someone is more interested in seeing our workshops, really, then I would be happy to get in touch and schedule something, because this is one of my favorite things to do. So thank you so much. And I am just going to toss our social media up there. Here we go. Thank you so much.